on this episode of the Contagious Influencers of America podcast. Well, if you're going to invest, why not invest in something you believe in? The CEO of Angel Studios. Now, that's the company that crowdfunded hits like The Chosen. He's with me today.
The Statue of Liberty, contrary to popular belief, was not funded by the French and the American governments. It was funded by the French people and the American people. When Frederick Bartholdi put together enough money to make a torch and a hand, and then use that to help people catch the vision, and raised enough money from regular people to build this iconic statue that has inspired generations ever since. And we named Angel after this idea that a group of people can get together to make a beautiful piece of art that will change the world.
I'm really so excited to bring you this edition of CIA, Contagious Influencers of America. I'm your host, David Sands. My guest today is Neal Harmon. He's the CEO of Angel Studios. And yes, they're the company that brought you hits like The Chosen and Drive Bar Comedy. But this is not your typical studio. No, it certainly is not. Angel Studios allows its angel investors to choose which titles will be created, funded, and distributed. It's really a very unique business model, an interesting concept, and Neal explains why it works so very well, and we're going to get into details. Maybe we're going too deep for some of you, but I'm telling you, I'm a real film fan, and I'm a real fan of how things get done and get made and how people can spend their millions of dollars. And Neal has come up, he and his brothers have come up with this incredible business model, and I can't wait to share that with you. In fact, it's working so well that they now have crowdfunded their very first theatrical movie, and it's about to hit theaters in just a few days. And it's the first time in entertainment history that a theatrical release has been crowdfunded. This is incredible. The movie is called His Only Son, and it's in theaters on March the 31st. And it surrounds one of the most controversial stories in the Old Testament. And I can't wait for you to experience this. And you're going to feel like you're right there in the story. The director, by the way, is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran whose time in the deserts of Iraq really inspired him to make this film. So I can't wait for you to see this movie. And it's committed to accuracy with both the casting and the storytelling, not to mention with Easter just right around the corner. This is the film that you're going to want to see. And once again, it's brought to you by the same folks that are behind The Chosen, the Dallas Jenkins directed film, The Chosen. Well, these are the folks who went out and put together the crowdfunding and made The Chosen happen. Now they've got this brand new project called His Only Son, just about to hit theaters. And I'm going to have the CEO of the company with me, and we are going to go deep. That's right, a deep dive into their business model, and this is fascinating. And if you're considering getting involved with Angel Studios, and by the way, this is not a paid thing. I'm not a financial advisor, none of that stuff. I'm just telling you, this is one of the most extraordinary stories I've been in the entertainment business for 50 years or so, and I'm telling you right now, this is one of the most extraordinary stories I've ever heard as to how a project gets made. So this is going to be a fun one. But first, I got to ask you. Let me just take a quick poll, okay? Does your love life need a little improving? Well, I would have said yes up until a few months ago when I got married, so mine needs no improving now. But does yours? If you're nodding your head yes, that's okay. You're not alone. Single, dating, married, no matter what stage of life you happen to be in right now, lovestories.com has your answer. Lovestories.com is your destination to discover the love, happiness, and purpose you deserve. Now, there's all kinds of different educational programs to pick and choose from over there at lovestories.com to fit your needs. For example, there is a free Save My Marriage mini course. Hosted by my good friend, Dr. Joe Beam, this free mini course provides the necessary framework to get your marriage to take a 180. In fact, Dr. Beam will teach you 3 things you can start doing immediately to get your spouse back. Dr. Beam has helped thousands of couples just like you. He spent years developing research-based principles to fix relationships. The Save My Marriage mini course is free right now at lovestories.com. So don't wait. Solve your crisis now by signing up at no cost at lovestories.com. And like I said earlier, lovestories.com isn't just for married folks. It's also for those of you still searching for love. So head on over to lovestories.com to get help identifying the matters of the heart that are holding you back from finding your match made in heaven. That's lovestories.com, lovestories.com. Now let's get to my interview with Neal Harmon of Angel Studios. Hey, Neal, welcome. How you doing?
David, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this for some time, and I'm just going to start out by just saying we really appreciate everything you and the team have been doing, and the wonderful entertainment that you've been behind, and the innovation that you brought to us to the field. So I just want to thank you for that. So let's start out by just I'd love for our listeners to get to know you a little bit about your background. The fact that this is a family affair. Okay, so just take us back. Where are you from? Tell us a little bit about your childhood and how you grew up with this incredibly gifted family.
Well, you're very kind, David, and I love to talk about my family. I was born in Burley, Idaho, in a farming community. It's called the Magic Valley, and they farm potatoes and grain and beets, and then they have lots of dairies and milk cows there. And I was the third of 9 children, and our family went from my dad lost his farm when I was younger than I can remember, and then we went from job to job, or entrepreneurship opportunity after entrepreneurship opportunity to make ends meet. And I think through that process, the 9 children, we learned that the bottom of the barrel isn't that scary, mm-hmm. and that building stuff together is really fun. And we also didn't realize that we weren't well-to-do. We got to play. We had a bunch of trees behind our house, and we'd build tree houses and go swim in the canals, and we just had one of those idyllic growing up periods in our life. So great family.
So let's talk about you all starting Angel Studios, because I'm sure that everybody's listening here has seen your crowdfunding way of things on Facebook. I think you guys pop up about every 5 minutes in my feed. I think you're working on the animated David now, I believe, right? That's one of the things.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's one of the big projects we're working on. David. We're working on the story of King David from the time he was a young boy up until he was crowned king. Mm-hmm. And that animated show we're hoping will be ready in 2025.
So let's talk about Angel Studios, what it means, and give listeners the elevator pitch.
You bet. So Angel's named after the people. If you know your history, you'll know Broadway was started by angel investors, just people who were using their money to make some great shows. And you'll also know that the Statue of Liberty, contrary to popular belief, was not funded by the French and the American governments. It was funded by the French people and the American people when Frederick Bartholdi put together enough money to make a torch and a hand, and then use that to help people catch the vision, and raised enough money from regular people to build this iconic statue that has inspired generations ever since. And we named Angel after those 2 ideas, the idea of the Statue of Liberty and the angel investor, and this idea that a group of people can get together to make a beautiful piece of art that will change the world. And some of your listeners might be familiar with our very first projects. The first one was Dry Bar Comedy, which is stand-up comedy that's funny for everyone. It's safe for the family. And our second project is called The Chosen, which tells the story of those who were touched by Jesus in the first century AD. So those were entirely funded by the people, and they are meeting a need throughout the world and are growing like crazy. Dry Bar has over 1 billion views a year, and The Chosen has reached an audience of now over 110 million in countries throughout the world, and has just become a beloved series. And there's so much more coming, David. It's just really exciting time for us here at Angel.
And we're going to talk about one of those in just a minute, but let's focus on The Chosen a minute, because take me behind the scenes. How did that all come about? I know Dallas Jenkins. We've had him on the show a few times. And so what happened? Did this guy stumble into your office and said, hey, my last movie was a failure, but I've got this great idea, and I know you can raise the money? I mean, how does this happen? And of course, he goes from, oh, well, maybe I really shouldn't be in this business, to doing The Chosen. And now, of course, he's like, it's the most amazing story, or one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard. So tell me what happened.
You bet. So Dallas, he actually had a long career in the film business and worked for a number of studios, and had 20 years of experience. And then he got his breakout chance to be a director for a movie that failed in the box office. Mm-hmm. And in parallel to that, my brothers and we started this company together to solve a problem for our families. And we, in the early days of our company, implemented a technology that would allow people to enjoy really great stories, but without objectionable content in the home. So we allowed you to skip or mute things that you wouldn't necessarily want your children repeating to their siblings. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we got sued for it by Disney and Warner Brothers. And we were in a sense, we were both in an existential situation. Dallas feeling like his career was over, and us not knowing we'd be able to survive this lawsuit with the largest media company in the world. Mm-hmm. And then Matthew Faraci, a mutual friend, learned about Dallas's short film that he made for his church, and he shared that with us. We were producing Dry Bar Comedy at the time, and we were looking for our very first series to do this same model where the crowd, all the audience gets to decide whether something's made. They are the ones who invest to make the show happen. And Matthew Faraci brought us The Shepherd, and we watched this 18-minute short film, and we're so moved by the film and the vision, especially because we were farm boys from Idaho. Mm-hmm, so to see that shepherd, see the birth of Christ through the eyes of the shepherd, for us, just touched us so deeply that we understood Dallas's vision, and that gave us the chance to meet him. And he came out and we'd spent time together, knowing we'd be working on this journey together, both he and his wife Amanda. Mm-hmm. And we hit it off, and I think that our circumstances brought us together, and then something beautiful came of it.
So what was the process as far as raising funds for that? Tell me how that worked.
So we had, as a company, when Disney sued us, we had asked our a bunch of our customers had asked us whether they could donate so that we could fight the lawsuit. And about over a 5-month period, they donated around $300,000, which is not a small amount of money. We were very grateful. Then we learned about we had learned about this law called the Jobs Act that allowed regular people who weren't sophisticated investors, to invest in something. And we offered our shares for sale and told everyone, we're fighting a lawsuit with Disney and probably lose your money. So don't invest anything you can't lose. But we'd love to represent the families that are behind our company. And David, they invested over $10 million in 5 days.
Wow.
And after we closed that round, one of the co-founders, Daniel, and one of the brothers called Jeffrey and me and said, hey, what if we took what just happened, and applied it to the shows that we want to produce, that we've always wanted to do, our own content, that we think we could do better than Hollywood could do it. And that turned on a light bulb, and we used the crowdfunding to do Dry Bar, and then we helped Dallas. We helped build a team around Dallas that would allow him to start The Chosen, and advise them on how to raise all the crowdfunding so that they could produce season 1 of The Chosen.
So
it took a long time. It was a lot more difficult. The 5 days that we did during the Disney lawsuit, it was more like a year of work trying to get The Chosen season 1 funded, and then even longer to get it off the ground and make it successful. It was very, very hard in the beginning.
So what was the budget for season 1?
It was the budget for season 1 was about $10 million.
$10 million. And the people that kick in money, do they actually make money back?
Yes. So all of the people who invested in The Chosen season 1 are equity holders. Mm-hmm. And in fact, last year, The Chosen announced a distribution of 120% for all of the initial investors of The Chosen.
Wow!
And so everyone got a return, and they continue to be owners. So when there are more profits, when and if there are more profits, then those will go to everyone, including the crowd.
Well, that's a lot better than I did with some of those Disney things back in the 80s and 90s. What was that thing called? Screen? I forget what it was called. They had those things where they raise money, and you can invest in Hollywood.
I don't remember that.
Oh,
I'd love to know that history, David.
I'm a little older than you are, so believe me, I remember it. I didn't get any money back, so.
That is so cool. I'd love to learn the history of that.
Oh, yeah.
If you share that with me offline, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I'll dig up one of those useless stock certificates somewhere and let you know.
Yeah, so now we've fought very hard in our company. So our Dry Bar, the people who invested in Dry Bar got almost a 3x return. Mm-hmm. And so far, The Chosen investors gotten 120%.
Wow.
Our goal is we feel like the angel investors are our most important constituent. That's what we named the company after, angel.com. And so we have to build a model that will make people successful when these shows are successful in order for us to really make a dent in the world's media and change the way media is made and change our culture for our children and our grandchildren. So, that's what we are zeroed in on, is making sure these people are successful.
So if people want to become, what do you call them, a shareholder, stakeholder, and what do you
call
them?
Angels.
Okay.
Yeah, angel investors.
If people wanted to be an angel investor and so that they could go around town and saying, I own The Chosen or any other project you're working on, how do they find out more about these opportunities?
So The Chosen opportunities closed. There won't be an opportunity for new people to invest in The Chosen at this time.
So you're not going to do The Chosen 14. It's not like God's not dead. I think we're up to number 12 now.
Well, The Chosen will do 7 seasons of The Chosen, but The Chosen is successful enough that it's funding itself. Mm-hmm. It funded itself on seasons 2 and 3 based off the sales and the pay it forwards of season 1 and season 2. So I can't say that there will never be an opportunity, but I don't see an opportunity with The Chosen. But there are many projects that are coming, and David is one of them that's funding right now. It's an animated feature film that the filmmakers who are from South Africa and have assembled a team from pedigrees from Pixar, Disney, DreamWorks, all the major animation studios, and they're working on a very beautiful project that they describe as akin to a combination of Tangled, in that it's super fun to watch, rewatchable, and then the epic quality and biblical quality of Prince of Egypt. And this is a major project, and that's open for investment right now at thedavidmovie.com.
Fantastic. And, something like The Chosen, I've noticed part of your distribution plan or execution on that is it's everywhere. I mean, it's not exclusive to this platform or that platform. How do you make that happen? Is it? And I know you even have a Roku app. You can watch the whole thing on Roku. So how did you come up with that plan as opposed to just giving it to Netflix?
So well, first off, trying to get people to watch The Chosen in the beginning was like pulling teeth. Because so many people had been burned by faith content or by shows about Jesus that were stiff or boring, or that it's just really hard to get people to want to watch it. In the beginning, we tried some of the traditional models that are used by Hollywood, where we would rent the show, or we would sell the show, or we would do a subscription to be able to access the show. And we even developed this system where you could go buy the show for a whole bunch of your friends. And I bought like 100 copies of this show, and I started giving it out to all my friends and neighbors, trying to get them to watch it. And after 6 or 8 months into trying to get this to work, I remember very clearly the night that Jeffrey and Liz and I were talking late in the office about this. And we were talking about how so many people on social media would say, I don't have enough money to watch the show, but I really want to watch the show. And we were complaining about how we had tried so hard to get our friends and neighbors to watch it. And we said, wait a second, if there are so many people that after they watch this show, they want to share, they want to spread the gospel, they want to share how beautiful this show is. And then there are so many people who actually are ready to watch it, but the people who I know aren't necessarily the ones who are ready. So if we could create a technology or a way to connect those who are ready with those who want to give, then maybe this would work. And that's in that moment, Pay It Forward was born. And it allowed anyone to watch the show for free. And then after they watch it, then they can express their gratitude for the show and help the show fund future episodes and season, and help the show reach more people by paying it forward. And then when people pay it forward, and somebody in Russia or in South Africa watches the show, thanks to my Pay It Forward, they can send me a thank you note when they're done watching. And they do, and I get thank you notes all the time from people all over the world because I've paid it forward. And so that's that really clicked for us as soon as that model took off. And we've made all of our shows free. Dry Bar, The Wing Feather Saga, and every other show that we offer today is free to watch. And then the company succeeds because these shows and their message spreads further and further throughout the world. And then people decide to pay it forward, or people decide to buy a hoodie or a T-shirt to help support the show. And then we do some licensing to help the show reach more eyeballs, because in a model that's free, it doesn't matter if it becomes available on Netflix and Peacock and on Delta. The show becomes broader and broader. And if the show is broader, then we become more successful. We maybe don't make as much per viewer as the traditional Hollywood model, but we definitely we pack way above our weight for how fast we're growing. And it is a profitable model to give it away for free and then make money in other ways.
Well, I just want to applaud you and your team for this innovation. It's been remarkable what you've accomplished, and you have a new project coming out, and it's going to be in theaters here soon. His Only Son, and I have not seen the movie yet. I've just seen the clip. But it looks it looks like something I want to go see, and I was expecting this one night thing, and I went on when you can look at tickets, and I'm like, what are you doing, buying out theaters? I mean, I looked at Regal Cinemas here in Nashville, And I mean, you guys are like on several times a day, spread over a few days. I mean,
yes.
Are you like a real distributor now? How do you make that happen? I mean, you're competing with Paramount and Warner Brothers and everybody else for screens.
Yeah. No, we are competing with everybody else, but there's something really exciting happening at Angel, and it's not because of what we're doing; it's because of what all of you are doing. So when people invest in these shows and they care about them, they bring their friends and their families and their neighbors and make sure that this message reaches as many people as possible. And the numbers are working. And these theatrical events are becoming community events where people who are like-minded and want to spread a message throughout the world, they come together, they get to rub shoulders with each other and celebrate in what they've done together. And with His Only Son, we started out timid because this is a brand new brand. And the response when we said, hey, we're going to crowdfund the marketing for this film, this finished film, to launch it around Easter time. And if you guys really want this to reach as many people as possible, go ahead and invest in the marketing. And this is known in the industry as a P&A investment, a print and advertising investment. And it's the last money in, first money out. So it's the safest money. And we filled that round of crowdfunding in 100 hours. It took us everyone by surprise. And so we stepped up our plans, and we had actually helped support the Jesus Revolution launch as well, where we showed Jesus Revolution in front of ads in front of The Chosen, and between the Asbury revivals and the Chosen audience getting behind this film, it more than doubled what their expectations were, and we're really excited about this. We might be onto a model that's going to work, and a lot's riding on how well His Only Son does. And so, if people out there in this audience want to see us, people who are believers, impact the future of our culture, it's paramount that you show up to theaters that first weekend that it becomes available, the week before Easter. That's the March 31st is when it launches into theaters, and the theaters believe enough in you and all of you who are making this happen that they have opened their doors wide open, and we need to reward them for believing in what we're doing.
Well, tell us what the film is all about, and just kind of paint the picture for us, okay?
Yeah, you bet. So, His Only Son. This is such a fascinating story because the creator of His Only Son started about the same time Dallas Jenkins started on The Chosen, and they started in parallel to each other. One starting with the birth of Christ and moving forward, and the other one starting with the birth of Christ and moving back. And David Helling is telling the story of Abraham and Isaac in an entirely authentic, beautiful, like the cinematography on this is gorgeous, and it makes you think, and it's a beautiful slow burn. I love those kinds of films, and it gets into this difficult topic of Abraham and Isaac and addresses it in a way that is honest to the scriptures. And when I was done watching this film, I don't remember sitting all the way through the credits and then after the credits for as long as I did on this film than I've ever done on a film. So I'm very excited about it, and I think anybody who really loves The Chosen is going to find this a beautiful way to celebrate Easter.
So what were the elements of this particular project that really caught your attention?
I think the elements are the person cast for Abraham could not be more perfect to the role. He is a tremendously talented actor. And the backstory behind that is just so beautiful on how they found him after looking through 1,700 different people to play the role of Abraham. The other actors do a fantastic job as well. But I think that performance and then the cinematography and the beauty and the craft that David Helling put into making the visuals. Now, this was a low budget film, but it punches way, way above its weight. And we see that what The Shepherd was to The Chosen, this could be to a biblical series, an Old Testament biblical series that could cover all of the Old Testament prophets, starting with Abraham and Isaac, and then Jacob and onward, if it's successful, and we believe it can be. So you'll see, it's some people call it like The Chosen meets the Passion of the Christ. So that gives you a sense for the feel of it.
Interesting. And when you look at something like this and you really think, wow, you know what, we're going to put our brand on this. What are the things that you look for when you decide to greenlight something, other than the fact that you think that you can successfully go raise crowdfund, but internally, what do you and the team talk about? What mission do you hope to accomplish with the projects that you choose?
I am so glad you asked that question, David. So Angel Studios North Star is stories that amplify light. And our definition of light comes from Philippians 4:8. True, honest, just, noble, authentic, admirable, excellent. There's a series of words. And we do not make the decisions in back rooms like are made in Hollywood. Hollywood, the movie and entertainment decisions are made by these gatekeepers who are the elite. And we feel like Hollywood does a beautiful job of creating stories, but the gatekeepers are the broken part of the problem. And what we've done at Angel is that everyone who has invested in previous projects are members of what we call the Angel Guild. So all the chosen investors, all the Dry Bar investors, the Wingfeather Saga investors, the Shift, Tuttle Twins, all these shows, there's now almost 70,000 people who have invested in these projects. They get the chance to look at all of the shows that are coming to Angel, and then answering the question on whether or not they're well made and whether or not they amplify light. And His Only Son was one of our highest scoring shows that we've ever put through the Angel Guild, and they passed it with flying colors, and that's why we're throwing the company's resources behind it, because the Angel brand represents you, and it represents the Angel Guild and the people who are truly making the decisions here. And we think that the seeds of cultural change are in the people, and then the way that the people decide that stories should be told, and that shouldn't be decided by some executive or power center. And so Angel's is seeking to change that narrative.
And I got to ask you, Jess, what's it like working with two brothers?
It's awesome. Yeah, it is so awesome. For us, I mean, the people who work around us, I think sometimes it's a challenge because we've known each other for so long that there's a lot of communication that just happens that people aren't picking up on. Yeah, that it just happens naturally between us. And then also, I think people get taken back sometimes because we're very candid with each other, and sometimes people are like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Or is the company in trouble? Because we're having a heated discussion. But then once we're done, we're going to lunch and everything's fine, and people are taken back by that. But I couldn't think of a better way to start a company than with brothers. And this industry has seen that happen multiple times before. Roy and Walt Disney started Disney together. And we read about their stories when we were young. Our mother read to us about them, and we love what they did so much. And that company has it's confused about where it's headed today, and we think it's because it lost that magic spark from the founders. And so we're trying to build something at Angel that is bigger than us. That we don't make those decisions. That it's the audience that makes the decisions, so that Angel can have the maximum impact long term.
Well, fantastic. We're really so honored to work with you folks, and so proud of you guys and what you've accomplished. And like I said, you've certainly done better than I did when I invested in movies back in. By the way, I found it here. It was called Silver Screen Partners, and it refers to 4 limited partnerships organized as an alternative funding source for film production, and that was back in 1983. I'm giving my age away here. And they had, they had Silver Screen Partners 1, 2, and 3. They first raised $83 million, $193 million, and $300 million. They did a lot of movies, but I never saw a dime from it. So
So it wasn't Disney. The Silver Screen Partners was as an independent company that tried to do what Angel's doing?
Yeah, it said Silver Screen Partners entered into an agreement with the Walt Disney Company beginning in 1985 to collaborate with Walt Disney Pictures, Animation, Hollywood Pictures, and Touchstone Pictures to produce works such as, and you can look at that, The Great Mouse Detective, Return to Oz, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, like I said,
somebody's tried it before.
Somebody tried it.
Yeah, it sounds like they were trying to partner with Disney for distribution. So we're doing a little bit differently, where the whole distribution and funding is all in one. And it sounds like we've already doubled their success because we paid out 2 projects so far.
Exactly.
Paid out 0.
Exactly.
Or infinitely increased their success.
Well, listen, Neal, I really appreciate your time. This has been fun, and I look forward to meeting you in person when you come to Nashville. Okay, make sure you put some time on your schedule, and we'll have lunch or dinner. All right.
I'll do that.
Thank you very much, and much success with His Only Son.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again, Neal. It's so cool that they're doing such unbelievable projects over there at Angel Studios. And what an incredible guy. What an incredible business model. I was just so fascinated. And, right after we did this interview, he happened to fly to Nashville, and we had lunch, and I was just blown away by what he and his brothers are doing. And their movie's out. It's coming out. It's just a couple of days away, and it's called His Only Son. And once again, it's the only crowd-funded theatrical release in history. And they get this, they reached their crowdfunding capacity in just 100 hours. I wish I would have had this model down in the years that I was out in Hollywood pitching projects. I must have pitched 1,000 different projects for myself and other folks. Maybe not 1,000, maybe a couple hundred, but I heard over 1,000 because I used to be head of all creative at King World, the little company that launched Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, and Oprah, and I had people coming in all the time pitching me projects in hopes that we would write a check and get those projects made. Well, then Neal comes along a few decades later, and invents this crowdfunding thing for movies. And by golly, they got funded for His Only Son in 100 hours. You know how many times and how many dinners and how much money I spent just trying to get somebody to say, that's a good idea. Or usually it was, well, that's a good idea, but I don't think I want to do that one. When you're in Hollywood, you pitch all these projects, and maybe you'll sell one out of 20 or something. I was quite fortunate to get quite a few projects made over my years in Hollywood. But then again, when you launch some big shows, it's a lot easier than when you just have an idea. So thank you, Neal. Thanks for sharing your business model and your passion and your heart for these wonderful projects. We really appreciate you and the folks at Angel Studios. And boy, I can't wait for you folks to go see this movie. Go see it right now. It's in theaters beginning March 31st, and it might be there for a week or two, or maybe more. But I've seen the theater list. I mean, I think they almost have a couple thousand theaters showing this thing, and that's the other thing. They've created their own distribution pipeline. It's amazing what they have done. Whoa, how things are changing. The Chosen did it with its release of, what was it, season 3, episode 1 and 2, or something like that. They filled theaters, and it went crazy. People didn't want to leave. People kept coming back. They brought their friends. And then, of course, we had Jesus Revolution. I mean, that thing is still going strong. I mean, it's at $50 million or something, and it shows no signs of stopping. And there's so many great things in the pipeline. So, wow, this is one of those times that maybe, as a result of some really bad things that happened, like the pandemic, and as a result of the fact that people started staying home and they started watching the movies on the big screen, and people fell in love with streaming, and they fell in love with episodic streaming television, etc. But if you want that community thing, if you want that bond with folks, if you want to hear people laughing and people applauding and people all around you just feeling the same way you do, you gotta go to the theater. And wow, this is a revival of its own. What's going on with some Christian films? So, thank you, Neal. Thanks for putting His Only Son into theaters. Once again, it starts the 31st, just in time for Easter, and it's from coast to coast. So get your tickets and go see this thing. This has been Contagious Influencers of America from the producers of Keep the Faith, the #1 faith-based show in all of America. We're on hundreds of stations in the United States and Canada, and boy, are we just enjoying our time with you. We've got now Keep the Faith with Penny, which is on over 100 stations every night from 7 to midnight in most markets. And, of course, we have Keep the Faith with Keith Stevens and Donna Cruz, the #1 show on Sunday mornings. And, boy, that is just on fire. Most stations air it from 6 to noon. Then we have Keith and Donna also doing our early morning show Monday through Friday, leading into your morning drive on your Christian stations, a lot of them, and now on some country stations. And, of course, then we have some really unique versions of Keep the Faith airing in local markets. One in particular I want to mention is Keep the Faith with Frank Reed. You know, Frank was the #1 guy in Dallas for a couple of decades, a morning guy, and he's been at KLTY for, over 30 years. And he decided to retire, so guess what? God had other plans for him. And now he is the host of Keep the Faith Dallas Fort Worth with Frank Reed. And that's on Sundays from 6 to noon and Monday through Fridays from 5 to 6 a.m. So many wonderful things happening. And we really appreciate the support of our friends and our advertisers. And we really appreciate you for listening to the show. If you'd like to know more about Keep the Faith, just go to KeepTheFaith.com, and you can even listen to some of our episodes. And of course, if you want to listen to additional episodes of Contagious Influencers, you can get those episodes wherever you get your podcast, or you can go to contagiousInfluencers.com, where you'll see all of them lined up there, and you can just pick and choose whatever you want to listen to there as well. I'm David Sams, and you've been listening to CIA Contagious Influencers of America. This week, I encourage you to go out there and live that life in living color, because it sure is a heck of a lot more interesting than living in black and white. I'll see you next time.